Did you know that today we have a world-renowned expert on the COVID situation? And we're so blessed that he actually happens to be part of our church. So, Dr. Youngberg, before we have our special music and our sermon today, do you mind giving us an update on the COVID situation? We so appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about the world-renowned part, but I'm glad to be part of this church, this renowned church. Last Sabbath, we did a very short little presentation on the power of vitamin D. I know this is really loud, isn't it? So anyways, that's not me. There's a handout. If you didn't get it, raise your hand, and Betsy will go around and make sure if you weren't here to get this handout last Sabbath, that you'll get it. It's just a one-page synopsis on how you can use vitamin D for both the prevention and the management of any respiratory infection, including COVID-19. Just Michelle told us right here, right after Sabbath school, that she had been in attendance last week, and a few days later, on Tuesday of this week, learned that her grandson in Nebraska, only 16 years old, had come down with really serious symptoms of COVID. And so she immediately told him, shared this information with them to take that loading dose of vitamin D, which we have seen in actual research studies that can dramatically decrease the negative outcome of COVID-19 in people who are seriously ill. And said that the next morning he said he was doing better, and within another 12 hours he was basically feeling much, much better. And that's a 16-year-old. This can happen at any age. Just this morning, as I was listening to Dan Houghton's Sabbath School, you might have noticed, Dan, I was texting somebody, and I got a text from the wife saying, "I have COVID, what do I do?" And so I'm glad that Dr. Brent Hildebrand is here, one of my good friends from Andrews University days and Loma Linda days. And I know he's been treating a lot of people with COVID too up there in Michigan. So this is an expanding, a dramatic upsurge of COVID-19. The good news is that we believe that at least 75% of individuals who end up in the hospital could prevent that if they immediately upon the first known symptom of the condition started following these natural remedies. I've seen it happen over and over again. I've not had one patient so far that's actually needed to go to the hospital if they initiate these therapies right away. So there's about a week of time that if you initiate it right away, you'll be prevented. Now, so if you didn't get the vitamin D, one per family, this is available even today. There's another handout that we're passing around today. Every week we're going to do just a little short update on what else we can do to both prevent and manage this properly so that we can dramatically decrease the need for hospitalizations and the burden on our medical institutions that this has caused. Dr. Roger Schwelt, who is kind of the world's leading authority on this topic, and from Loma Linda University, he has published over 115 YouTube presentations on COVID specifically. He actually read this for a conference recently. This is an article that was given to me 10 years ago, right here in this church, after doing a presentation on how to boost our immune system, ironically enough. And this pastor from another church came up to me and said, "Have you heard about the Hutchinson Seventh-day Adventist Seminary story and how they were able to cure 90 out of 90 patients that they had, students that they had, who had come down with the Spanish flu in 1918. So let me read this to you real quickly, because this outlines some very basic natural strategies that everyone should take advantage of and potentially eliminate the need for hospitalization when done properly and early on. It says, on the authority of Dr. Fred Shepard, health officer of the Hutchinson City, it may be stated that no public institution in the state of Minnesota, this is being written in 1918, has up to date made a record in handling influenza, the worldwide epidemic that has swept millions into their graves, like that, to the credit of the Hutchinson Seventh-day Adventist Seminary. The seminary, with 120 of its 180 students and teachers housed under one big roof, was invaded by the malady 3 weeks ago. Symptoms of the malady developed in 90 of these individuals, and under the direction of Dr. Larson, a graduate physician and member of the seminary faculty, every person showing indications of sickness, this is the first step, was at once put to bed with a trained nurse taking temperatures. That can be your parent, that can be your daughter, your son, your sibling. Check for symptoms, but get to bed right away. Don't wait until you feel really, really bad to get complete bed rest. This is a critical concept that most people are ignoring. Okay, if those symptoms developed, the patient was required to remain in bed. There were no drugs to be given, but with complete bed rest and quiet went a carefully regulated diet. Step number 2, don't overeat. Don't order in from In-N-Out Burger and Burger King and everywhere else and just eat because you got nothing else to do. That's the worst thing you can do. If you think you might have been exposed to COVID, that's setting you up. Avoid sugar like it is the plague, because it will allow the plague to get you down if you consume it. So, careful diet, number 2. Okay, and fomentations applied to the throat, chest, and abdomen. These are hot, cold contrast therapies that can be done with water. It can be done with thermophores, anything that heats up the body and then cools it off, back and forth 3 times, has a powerful ability. And the research has been showing that this activates your innate immune system, which is basically paralyzed for a whole week at the beginning of the infection. And if you activate your immune system at that phase, you likely will not require a hospitalization. So if the people who end up requiring a hospital care or ICU care are the ones who have had a depressed innate immune system for a period of 5 to 7 days without that immune system being woken up. Hot-cold therapy wakes it up immediately, so that's something we can do to prevent as well as manage. Okay, and so this treatment, in almost every case, reduced the temperature of a patient in a day or so. They were apparently well. But that did not end the matter with them. The next danger was relapse, right? This is a critical thing to be aware. To guard against this, every patient was required to stay in bed for 2 to 5 days after they felt well. Critical concept here. Your immune system's not ready to just jump and catch up with all the things that you failed to do in the previous few days. You've got to rest a few more days. Okay, and that was after a full recovery. Now, as a result of this system of handling a disease that is scoring thousands of victims every day, there has not been one case that could have been called serious or even a single death in the seminary, although there were more than 90 persons affected. This is a condition that killed on average 10% of people who were afflicted with it, and none of them died. Why? Because they took advantage of these God-given principles of natural preventive strategies and therapeutic strategies. Okay, and this is the end of it, says this: the record is remarkable. This is being written in the Hutchinson Leader, the newspaper of that area of Minnesota, in December of 1918. It says, it makes the ordinary methods of dealing with the flu appear irrational. In subsequent little short COVID response little talks, we will also be talking about how to do the hydrotherapy and how to do other things that we know with modern science that can be very preventive and therapeutic as well. Thank you.